Erik is an ambitious professional who feels like he is working all day but finishing nothing because his focus is constantly shattered by interruptions. He thinks he is multitasking, but he is actually experiencing a well-documented cognitive phenomenon called attention residue. First identified by Dr. Sophie Leroy, this describes a lag where your thoughts persist on a previous task even after you have technically moved on to a new one. It is as if Erik's focus is a spotlight that he cannot instantly repoint. A part of it stays illuminated on the old spot, dimming the light on his new work. Erik is physically on task B, but mentally a significant part of him is still stuck on task A. Today, we are going to show Erik how to stop this cognitive vampire from draining his potential. The research behind Erik's struggle is staggering, starting with the fact that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully regain deep focus after a single interruption. If Erik checks a message just 5 times a day, he effectively loses nearly 2 hours of peak productivity to mental recovery time. Furthermore, even a micro-distraction as short as 2.8 seconds is enough to double his error rate on complex tasks. Perhaps most shocking is that Erik's performance can drop from 83% in a single task to just 17% when cognitive tasks are combined. By attempting to juggle messages and work, his effective IQ can fall by 10 points, a deficit equivalent to missing an entire night of sleep. In 2004, the average worker spent 2 minutes on a screen before switching, but today that has plummeted to just 47 seconds. Erik's brain is essentially running multiple background programs simultaneously, which depletes the oxygenated glucose his prefrontal cortex needs to stay on task. This creates a state of infomania that trains his brain to crave constant novelty while making deep work feel physically uncomfortable. Even the mere presence of his smartphone on the desk, even if it is face down and silent, reduces his available working memory. His brain must actively work to not attend to the device, which utilizes the same limited capacity resources required for fluid intelligence. Erik is not just busy, he is operating in a self-imposed state of cognitive handicap. Erik is going to demonstrate 3 science-backed steps to reclaim his focus. Step 1. The Ready to Resume plan. Before he leaves his report for a meeting, Erik takes 60 seconds to jot down exactly where he is and the very next step he will take upon return. This trail of breadcrumbs gives his brain permission to let go. Step 2. The phone quarantine. He moves his smartphone to another room entirely to eliminate brain drain. Step 3. The 90-minute focus block. Erik closes all tabs and silences notifications to align his work with his natural ultradian rhythms. This allows him to fire on all cylinders before taking a boring break to replenish his neurochemistry. The results of Erik's new routine are transformative. By using the Ready to Resume plan, he is now 79% more likely to make optimal decisions on interrupting tasks because his mind is no longer divided. He has eliminated the 3 p.m. brain fog by preserving his brain's nutrients and avoiding rapid switching. Research suggests that single tasking with purpose can make a worker up to 2 times more efficient than conventional planning. Erik is producing higher quality output with lower stress levels. He has finally gained the competitive advantage of attention mastery in an era of endless distraction. Erik is not just working harder, he is finally working with his brain instead of against it. Erik's journey from fragmented chaos to focused flow is just the beginning. Attention is a muscle, and you can train yours to be just as resilient as his. If you are ready to stop the brain rot of constant notifications and start doing the deep work that actually moves the needle, you need to stay informed. Hit that subscribe button to receive high-signal, curiosity-inducing content every week. Join our community of high performers who are mastering their attention residue to reach their full individual potential. Don't leave your brain scattered. Reclaim your focus today. Most people assume a quick glance at a notification is harmless, but for Erik, it is a high-cost event. Research shows that a 2.8-second interruption doubles the rate of sequence errors because the brain must cold boot its working memory. During this rebooting process, temporary data is often lost, leading to skipped steps or mistakes in complex projects. When the interruption lasts just 4.4 seconds, the error rate actually triples. Erik now understands that there is no such thing as a quick check when his work requires precision. Protecting his cognitive sequences is the first step toward professional excellence. The most invisible drain on Erik's time is the resumption lag, the time required to return to his original task and regain his previous depth of flow. Gloria Mark's research found that this recovery takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds. Because Erik's brain doesn't instantly switch, the previous task competes for attention in his working memory long after he has returned to his screen. This residual cognitive clutter makes his sentences come out worse and causes him to miss obvious details. If Erik allows constant pings, he spends his entire day in a state of partial attention, never reaching his full potential. He must protect his focus time as a finite and precious resource. Erik used to pride himself on his ability to juggle emails and reports, but science calls this infomania. Dr. Glenn Wilson found that the average worker's functioning IQ drops by 10 points when distracted by messages. This drop is more than double the cognitive impairment found in someone smoking marijuana. For Erik, this means he feels tired, lethargic, and significantly less capable of original thought. By trying to be always on, he has effectively put himself in a state of self-imposed cognitive handicap. He is learning that his best work happens when he unplugs and slows down. One of the most surprising findings Erik discovered is the brain drain effect. The mere presence of his smartphone reduces his available cognitive capacity because his brain must work to not look at it. This constant recruitment of resources for inhibitory control leaves fewer resources for the task at hand. In experiments, participants with phones in another room consistently outperformed those with phones on their desks. This cost is highest for people like Erik who have a high degree of smartphone dependence. By moving his phone out of sight, Erik instantly boosts his fluid intelligence and problem-solving speed. Erik has learned that he is not a supercomputer designed to run at high speeds continuously. Instead, his biology follows ultradian rhythms, cycles of roughly 90 minutes of high alertness, followed by 20 minutes of fatigue. During the first part of the cycle, his concentration and stamina are at their peak. If Erik ignores the signals to rest, like yawning or hunger, he triggers a stress response that degrades his work quality. Elite performers like athletes and musicians never practice for more than 90 minutes at a stretch for this very reason. Erik now works in focused bursts, matching his schedule to his biology instead of fighting it. Erik realized his smartphone habit was actually a neural addiction. Apps like TikTok and Instagram use the same psychological mechanisms as slot machines to keep him scrolling. This variable ratio reinforcement means Erik never knows if the next notification will be boring or brilliant, so his brain releases dopamine in anticipation. Over time, his dopamine receptors downregulate, a condition often called brain rot. This recalibrates his reward system so that normal tasks like reading a report feel painfully slow or physically uncomfortable. By understanding this trap, Erik can begin to retrain his brain to enjoy sustained, low-stimulation focus once again. Erik discovered that multitasking literally changes how his brain stores information. When he studies or works while distracted by the TV or messages, data is sent to the striatum. This region is specialized for procedures and skills, not for deep facts and creative ideas. However, when Erik focuses intensely on one task, the information goes to the hippocampus. Here it is organized and categorized, making it much easier for him to retrieve and apply later. Erik now knows that fragmented learning is a waste of his time and mental energy. Erik now uses time block planning to regain control over his chaotic schedule. Instead of working from a reactive to-do list, he partitions his day into specific blocks for dedicated tasks. Every minute of his workday has a job, from deep work sprints to administrative windows. This method eliminates the continuous mental battle of deciding what to do next, which preserves his mental energy. If Erik falls behind, he doesn't panic. He simply stops and creates a new plan for the remaining hours. This fixed schedule productivity ensures that he works intensely and then rests without guilt. Erik used to check his email 74 times a day, which kept him in a perpetual state of attention residue. Now he uses task batching to corral those small administrative duties into 2 or 3 specific windows. By processing all his messages at once, he avoids the productivity poison of constant monitoring. Batching allows his mind to fully load one cognitive context and process multiple related items before moving on. This reduces the mental fatigue and subjective resistance he used to feel when jumping between unrelated projects. Erik has found that containing his digital communication is a free and powerful focus enhancer. Erik has implemented a 2-minute transition ritual to act as a stage reset for his mind. First, he parks the previous task by noting his progress and next steps. Second, he performs a physical reset, like doing 5 deep shoulder rolls to break the mental connection to his screen. Third, he uses a sensory shift, such as drinking cold water or smelling fresh coffee, to signal a context change. Finally, he sets a clear intention for exactly what he is about to do in the next focus block. This simple habit clears his cognitive RAM and allows him to achieve full concentration 40% faster. Even when Erik finishes a project, his mind might still refuse to let go because of the Zygarnic Effect. This is why completion is not the same as cognitive closure. To fix this, Erik performs a clear shutdown ritual at the end of every workday. He reviews his task lists, ensures all loose ends are scheduled for tomorrow, and reviews his top goals. He then uses a demonstrative act like saying "shutdown complete" to signal to his brain that the work is finished. This gives his mind the permission it needs to be fully present with his family in the evening. Erik now understands that he cannot rely on willpower alone to resist distractions. Instead, he has engineered a distraction-free workspace. He uses closed storage to hide visual clutter, which otherwise competes for representational space in his brain. He has added biophilic elements, like office plants, which have been shown to increase productivity by 15%. Erik also uses noise-canceling headphones to block out the intermittent speech of an open office, which can slash performance. By managing his surroundings, Erik makes focus the path of least resistance. Erik is currently on a 30-day action plan to rebuild his focus from the ground up. In the first week, he fixed his environment by switching his phone to grayscale mode to make it less rewarding. In the third week, he began a dopamine reset, stopping his most compulsive digital behaviors to allow his receptors to upregulate. By week 4, activities that previously felt boring, like reading a book, started to feel genuinely engaging again. Erik has learned that his attention was not permanently broken. It was just trained wrong. Small, consistent changes are compounding into a massive increase in his mental clarity. Erik's journey proves that your attention isn't permanently broken. It has simply been trained for fragmentation by a hyper-connected world. By actively fighting attention residue with the ready-to-resume plan, Erik now makes optimal decisions 79% more often because he no longer leaves pieces of his brain stuck on previous tasks. He has reclaimed hours of his day by respecting his brain's 90-minute ultradian rhythms and removing the brain drain of smartphone proximity. Focus is not just a habit, it is the ultimate professional superpower in an era of digital noise. If this breakdown helped you understand your own brain lag, please like the video to help these science-backed strategies reach more people. Share this with a colleague who is constantly just checking notifications, and subscribe to join our community of high performers reclaiming their full individual potential. Don't let digital chaos dictate your results. Reclaim your focus today.